First and foremost, I would like to say that Taryn is trash. Actual, literal trash. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. So just to tell you a little bit about what this book is about, there are three sisters, one of them being Fae, and because the Fae sister was taken away from the Fae father comes, takes the kids back. And so because two of the kids are in fact not Fae at all, they have to deal with not being Fae in fairy. It's hard to explain. It's very difficult to explain without telling you everything. I'm going to actually issue a trigger warning before we enter this book because there is a lot of abuse and bullying. So if that is something that you would like to stay away from, I just wanted to let you know. Without further ado, let's get into this book review. Recap in 3, 2, 1. Maddox kills his runaway wife and her husband and takes Vivi, Taryn, and Jude back to Faerie. Taryn and Jude are forced to go to court with Maddox and Oriana. Dane, one of the princes, is about to succeed his father as the new king. Prince Dane shows up at Maddox's house to get Jude to be one of his spies. Jude actually endures abuse from her schoolmates because she is human and they are Fae. Jude's first mission is to find info at Hollow Hall, which is the home of Balekin, another one of the princes. Jude takes poison to build up her immunity. Jude also gets a golden acorn from Locke's mom's dress, and Locke's mom is Lyrio. Locke and Jude seem to be in a relationship? At the coronation, Locke reveals that he wants to be with Taryn, Jude's sister, twin sister. A coup is staged where Balekin kills all the siblings and his dad except for Cardan because in order to be crowned, he needs a sibling or someone of the same bloodline to crown him. This coup was staged by Maddox. Jude and the rest of the spies end up holding Cardan hostage. Jude figures out and confronts Oriana about Oak because Oak is the lost heir that people talk about. We do have some coronation shenanigans, and at the end, Cardan is the new king. Favorite moments. These are far and few in between. My first favorite moment. This is going to sound very bad, but it was when Maddox kills their dad at the beginning. And I liked it because he puts a sword through the dad, and I like this because I watched Vampire Diaries, and there's this part where Catherine is dying because she had to take the cure, and she's going back to when her family was killed by Klaus, and then Damon comes into her dream, and he's like, ooh, sword in the daddy, sword in the daddy. Sword in the daddy. My next favorite moment was when the book mentioned Queen Mab, and I like that purely because it was a Throne of Glass reference. If you've read Throne of Glass, you know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you don't. Next, so when Jude, Taryn, and Vivi go to the human world and go to the mall, there's this guy that tries to hit on Jude, and she's like, I ain't with that, and then she beats his behind, but then she felt bad about it, and I was like, no, he grabbed your arm, totally violated your personal space, kick his behind. My next favorite moment is when Maddox is trying to find out who tortured Jude, and that's because she comes home in a towel and undergarments, because people poisoned her and tried to kill her. And he's like, who did this to you? And I was like, wow. The fact that he, the person that killed her parents, is the most compassionate person to her, that's saying something. My next favorite moment is just this nice retort that Cardan had. And this was when Balekin was like, come on, fight me with the sword. And he's like, it's not a game. And then Cardan's like, then why is it called sword play? I was like, that's funny. My next two favorite moments are tied together, and that is when Jude stabs Valerian, and then when Jude kills Valerian. Because, first of all, Valerian said because he's Fae and he can mind control her and make her do things, he was like, jump off the tower and kill yourself. And she's like, no. She stabs him. I was like, yes, stab him. And then when Valerian came into her room to kill her because she stabbed him, she killed him instead. I was like, yes, good job. And then my last favorite moment is when Jude almost kills Taryn in the duel. And I like this because Taryn is a terrible person, let alone a terrible sister. Just trash. Just a trash human being that I don't like. So when Jude almost killed her, I was like, go ahead. I didn't like this book, so buckle in because I got a lot of yikes moments. So my first yikes moment. The first chapter was only one line. What was the point of that? Couldn't that have been the first line of the second chapter that then could have been the first chapter because the first chapter would have been blank because there was only one sentence on it? Like, it's kind of pointless and a waste of paper. My next yikes moment is the fact that the characters are just so underdeveloped and the relationships are underdeveloped as well. Like, you know the fundamentals. Like, you know, oh, Taryn and Jude are twins. Oh, Vivian is their sister. Oh, Carden is the prince. But there's not really much of a development of their relationship between them. Like, it's poorly developed, and I didn't like that at all. My next yikes moment, Oriana says, I will not see Medak made to look foolish because of your mistakes. And I was like, ew, no me gusta. Like, she is the annoying stepmother. Everyone's like, ugh, the annoying stepmother, you know? Like, ew. Next yikes moment. So when we first get to court, Jude, because she's sort of the narrator, we get all these descriptions like, oh, that fairy over there is wearing like this emerald suit, and that fairy over there is drinking this liquor, and she does this for like 10 fairies, and I was like, this is info overload. Just say everybody was looking lavish, and the room was also looking lavish, and you're done. Like, I don't want to read all the fluff. It's so unnecessary. It's, ugh. So then we meet Carden, and he tears off the wing of one of his subjects, and I was like, dang, that's cruel. But to be fair, it is called The Cruel Prince, so I can't really be too mad about that one. The next I'm going to get to is one of my biggest complaints. This is one of 3, and the first one is Taryn is trash. Absolute trash. So when we first get to the court, this is the first time we get to the court, Locke is staring at Jude, so then Jude's staring back. And then Taryn's like, stop staring at Locke. How about you tell Locke to stop staring at your sister? Where's your loyalty, okay? And then my next thing about how she's a trash person is how she forces Jude to talk to Maddox about going for night shift. Jude didn't want to talk to Maddox at that time. So why would you corner her knowing that's not what she wanted? You're supposed to be supportive, not a pain. Like, what are you doing? It's like you wanted her to fail and not succeed. My next problem with Taryn is that she takes a plea bargain and leaves Jude to suffer under the bullies. Like, literally, they're in the water where there's animals that can eat them, and they're like, if you just leave Jude alone, we'll leave you alone. And she's like, okay, what? What? You're just gonna let your sister be bullied by them because you don't want to be bullied by them? Like, there's something wrong with you. That's not okay. I want to talk about how unsupportive she is of Jude. So Jude is trying to stand up to the bullies because they're bullying her. And it's hardcore bullying, like, oh, let us kill you just a little bit. See how you enjoy that. Like, what? And she just doesn't care that Jude is trying to stand up to them. She's like, Jude, you just need to let them bully you and just let it go and they'll leave you alone. What? What kind of, no, really not. What should happen is like, they are treating us unfairly because we're human. I stand with you, Jude. Let's fight the power. That's what should have happened, not, I'm gonna let you get bullied and I'm gonna just dip and I'm gonna tell you to stop getting bullied because you're making it difficult for me. Trash. Trash. Literal trash. Trash, trash, trash. She gets picked up on Tuesdays and Fridays in this neighborhood. That's how trash she is. More about Taryn being trash. The fact that she didn't apologize to Jude after all that Jude has been through. And she tried to get Vivian to apologize for her. No. Woman up and go tell your sister that you're sorry. Don't make your other sister be in charge of it. You are a weak, simple-minded simpleton, and I don't like it. Next, when they're trying to get outfits for the coronation, Jude is like, oh my gosh, this fabric is beautiful. And then Taryn comes along and she's like, I want this fabric. Well, Jude was there first. And then Taryn's like, please, Jude, I need it. I need it. Well, if you needed it, you would have picked it first. And because you didn't pick it first, you need to pick another fabric. Here's the biggest thing, okay? Taryn puts Locke before her own sister. So Taryn and Locke were in like a secret relationship, and Locke was supposed to like marry her or something, so he's in a secret engagement with her. And he told Taryn, yo, if you want to be with me, like, you got to keep this a secret from your sister. Like, I don't care. Like, I need to prove that I can trust you. She literally lets her sister date Locke and embarrass herself. Like, what sense does that make? What sense is that? You're going to let your sister look like a fool in front of everybody because Locke wants to have some entertainment and some fun, and because Locke needs to know if he can trust you? What? 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 And then when Taryn and Jude get into a fight about Locke, but really I think it's Jude finally being tired of Taryn and her foolishness, they like fight, and then Maddox pulls them aside, and Taryn's like, but she did what? She abandoned you? She pretended to not be involved with the guy you're dating? Oh wait, no, that was you. That's what you did. Take several seats. And then my last part about Taryn being absolute trash is when Jude walks in with Carden, and Taryn just looks at them with like revulsion. It's like, you're just jealous because you only have Locke and Jude is walking in with the prince. So who fumbled the bag? Who fumbled the bag? This is the second of 3 of my biggest grievances, and that is the abuse and bullying. And that is the main reason why I'm not going to continue reading the series. So, first instance is that a guard bit off Jude's fingertip, like literally her fingertip has no fingertip because a guard bit it off. And then when she goes to the court, a gentry gave her this drink and tried to make her dance to her death. Next bullying is when Jude and Taryn get thrown into water with creatures that could kill them. Then Nicassian and Valerian force Jude to eat fruit, and then because she's drunk off of the fruit because the fruit is poisonous to her, then they make her strip, and then they humiliate her and they choke her. How is this not okay? And literally the teacher's just like, like doing nothing about it. He's just sitting there all complacent. And then the next part, when Valerian is telling Jude, because once again, he's a fae, so he can use his magic to tell her to do stuff, except at this point, Jude had the geese because she's working with, because she's Prince Dane's spy, and she got the geese that no other fairy or fae could use their abilities against her and make her do things she didn't want to do, except for Dane, so that's why it didn't work. But if she didn't have that, then she would have jumped out of the tower and killed herself because Valerian told her to. And then, because she defends herself and stabs him, guess what he does? He sneaks into her room and tries to kill her. Does any of this sound okay? No, it's disturbing, and it's disturbing and it's disgusting. And then here's the thing, right? So then Dane finds out, because he's a prince and he has all these connections. Dane finds out that Jude stabbed Valerian because Valerian threatened to kill her, and then Dane makes Jude stab herself because she wasn't supposed to stab Valerian and defend herself. And then here's the even worse part, which I'm going to talk about later. She internalized this and says, oh, I deserve to stab myself because I shouldn't have defended myself. What? Next, my third thing is the predictability. We knew Carden would be king, and I'm going to talk about that in Trick. I'm a detective, but that was obvious. Next, we knew Carden liking Jude because it's just like, oh, I hate her so much because they were actually in love with her. Yes, we've seen this trope a million times. Taryn being with Locke because they kept looking at each other and having like these offside conversations. I was like, sus. Oak being the lost heir just because of Lirio being the mistress of Eldred and Dane, and the evidence is the kid, which is Oak. And then here's my biggest thing. When she poisons both flasks with Maddox. And here's why. Because I was like, Princess Bride much? I was like, you couldn't be any more original than to say she did something else? Like, you literally took that out of the Princess Bride and said, oh, she poisoned both flasks. Like, that's so lame and predictable. Like, do better. This is offhand yikes moment, but when Taryn arrives late to the tournament, and I was like, girl, even if you can't declare yourself for night shift, you should still make a good impression and show up on time. Like, they already don't like you because you're human, so you probably shouldn't be a late human as well. Oh, wait, I actually have 4 of my biggest grievances, not just 3. So my 4th grievance is trusting Locke. Trusting Locke. And didn't like it because they started having like these shared looks. And then I was like, why would you trust him anyway? He's in the mean squad. He's with Cardin and Nicassian and Valerian. Like, Strawberry Shortcake doesn't just hang out with Dr. Draken and Shigo. Like, it doesn't work like that. If he's in the mean squad, then he's in there for a reason. Mean people don't just have this one nice person like, oh, we have our staple nice person that we have to have for every group. No, that's not how that works. People surround themselves with people like them. And then here's another thing I didn't like. After she has been forced to strip and they try to choke her, all of a sudden he's like, that's enough, guys. It's been enough. They've been bullying her and poisoning her, throwing her into ponds with things that can eat her, and oh, now that they're choking her, oh, it's enough. It's been enough. This has been crazy abuse. And then also, this isn't their fault. This is more of a writing fault. But I felt like this was a forced relationship, and I was upset because it was just unnecessary. Like, I would read it and be like, oh, I don't care. Next page. Like, it was just stupid. And then after he shuns her aside, he's like, I want your sister, your twin sister, Taryn. Then he comes back to her and he's like, oh, don't you want to be with me? No! Some quick more yikes moments. So when Dane gives her the geese, I was mad. I was like, why didn't Maddox just give her this protection himself? And then after she was forced to take the fruit and she had to like strip and was choked and almost died, then she's like, oh, I need Maddox to teach me more. I was like, that's pretty ineffective because you can't do anything to encounter magic and poison from fairy fruit. Like, you can fight all you want to, but if that fruit goes in your mouth, you're pretty much done for. Then, when she was on her mission, she was running around like a chicken without its head trying to find Belkin's room. Why didn't she have a map? You can't be a spy if you're unprepared. Spies have to take time to prepare. They don't just like, oh, I'm just gonna sneak in and see what I can find. Not without a plan. She didn't have a plan. She's like, I'm just gonna walk around and hope I find it. I wouldn't want that in a spy. Next, Balakin abusing Cardin. It perpetuates an abusive cycle, and I didn't like that at all. Then Cardin has a paper with Jude just scribbled and to the point where it's like an angry stab. And there's one thing when you're like, oh, like, you know, when you doodle someone's name, it's like, oh, Mrs. X, Y, and Z. But like, there was a different tone, a different vibe. Like with his angry splotches, it felt like anger and pain. And I was like, I don't like this. Then, when Jude goes back to Balakin's place, she takes Sophie, someone who is a human that has been, you know, magicked into staying there into forced servitude. And I was like, Jude, we don't have time for this. We don't have time to be saving her. We don't. So I was just like, why is she doing this? It's not gonna do anything. And then Sophie killed herself anyway. I was like, it's a waste of time and resources and effort. Then, okay, here's my thing. When she tells Cardin about Oak, that info can be used against you. Like, Cardin is not your friend. Everyone knows this. Like, this is just trash. And then, another yikes moment is when Jude is fighting Maddox, and she's like, I knew he was a general, but I didn't know he was that good. Girl, how dumb are you? He's the general. That's his job, to be good at fighting. And then, when Ghost, another one of the spies, tossed the crown to Taryn and not Jude because they're twins. Ghost, you're a spy. Did you not notice that Taryn and Jude are wearing different outfits? So how did that happen? How did that happen at all? Now let's get into some shake the table moments. My first shake the table is that Taryn is trash. And this is just indicative that blood is not always thicker than water. I mean, Taryn abandons her twin sister and then deceives her with Locke. So, for all I'm concerned, Taryn's trash. Next, shake the table moment, falling in love with your abuser. Like when Jude kisses Cardin, when she holds him captive, I was like, no, this dude has been responsible for all this abuse that you've endured. He's tried to kill your life more than once, more than twice. Like, why would you kiss him? Why would you have emotions? Like, why would you have romantic feelings for him? And you know what? This also teaches bad habits to like young girls. It's like, oh, if a guy is mean to you, that means he likes you. No, if a guy is mean to you, that means he's a jerk and you should leave. You should see the red flags waving and deuces. We have to talk about how hurt people, and that's with Balakin beating Carden. But once again, I guess it's kind of important, but also you gotta learn how to break the cycle. And then self-worth is my last thing. And that's how Jude lacks self-worth. She values Faye over herself, so she wants to be like them, so she loses self-worth, and she doesn't think she's as worthy because she's human. She believes she deserves to be punished because she's human, and because she's not like the Fae, and because the Fae don't like her because she's human. So it's a very negative feelings for herself. And then she lets Taryn walk all over her, then feels bad when she stands up for herself. So as you can see, this environment triggered to her lack of self-worth. Let's talk about some trick I'm a detective moments. And first, Carden getting the crown. That was obvious. Literally, at the beginning of the book, they're like, oh, Carden is the youngest and he has so many siblings, he's guaranteed to never get the crown. So of course he's gonna get the crown. Then Taryn and Locke. First time at the court, Taryn tells Jude to stop looking at Locke. And then she said, I've decided to fall in love. And then Locke is the only one that starts being nice to her. Like, it was very obvious that something was going on. Something, okay? And then last trick moment is Oak being alive and the heir. So we have to think that Liriope is the mistress, and that goes back to Locke, because that's Locke's mom. And then at the coronation, they say if the kid was born, then Dane would never be king. And so because Dane was never king because he was killed, that means that the kid is alive. And the only kid that we see in now is Oak. So it's probably Oak. And then Oriana has the golden acorn, so that's like solidifying this thought that, yeah, that's definitely Oak. And then why Maddox was supporting Balekin over Dane, even though he was writing for Dane, he supported Balekin because Dane would have killed Oak if he knew. Okay, so those are all my thoughts and opinions on the book. As you can see, I definitely had a bunch of issues with this book, and because of that, I've decided not to continue. I kept reading it hoping that it would improve, and it just didn't for me. It just became more frustrating, and it perpetuates certain behaviors as okay, and I don't really want to spend any more time with a book like that, so I won't be finishing that. So that concludes this book review. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and click that bell notification so you don't miss out on when I post. Now, all that's left to say is bye-bye.